Hi everyone, welcome to today's video where we'll be discussing the best lessons from The Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. Brown is a renowned research professor, author, and public speaker who has spent the last 2 decades studying vulnerability, courage, shame, and empathy. In her TED Talk on vulnerability, which has been viewed over 50 million times, she shares some powerful insights into how vulnerability can lead to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. So without further ado, let's dive into the lessons. Lesson 1. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's courage. The first lesson we can learn from Brené Brown's work is that vulnerability is not weakness, but rather a sign of courage. Many people associate vulnerability with being weak or fragile, but Brown argues that it takes immense courage to be vulnerable. For example, sharing your true feelings with a loved one or asking for help when you need it can be incredibly scary, but it shows strength and courage to do so. Lesson 2. Shame is the enemy of vulnerability. The second lesson we can learn from Brown's work is that shame is the enemy of vulnerability. Shame is the feeling that we're not good enough, and it often keeps us from being vulnerable because we're afraid of being judged or rejected. Brown suggests that we need to recognize our shame and work through it in order to embrace vulnerability. For example, if you're afraid to share your creative work with others because you're worried they'll judge you, you can work through those feelings of shame by reminding yourself that you're doing it for yourself, not for their approval. Lesson 3. Connection is essential for happiness. The third lesson we can learn from Brown's work is that connection is essential for happiness. Brown argues that we're wired for connection, and that meaningful relationships are crucial for our well-being. Vulnerability is a key component of building strong connections with others, as it allows us to share our authentic selves and deepen our relationships. For example, if you're struggling with a problem, sharing your feelings with a trusted friend can help you feel less alone and more supported. Lesson 4. Embrace imperfection. The fourth lesson we can learn from Brown's work is to embrace imperfection. We often feel like we need to be perfect in order to be accepted or loved, but Brown suggests that it's our imperfections that make us human and relatable. By embracing our imperfections, we can learn to be kinder to ourselves and others. For example, if you're feeling like you're not doing enough in your work or personal life, remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes and that you're still growing and learning. Lesson 5. Vulnerability requires boundaries. The final lesson we can learn from Brown's work is that vulnerability requires boundaries. It's important to be open and honest with others, but we also need to protect our own emotional well-being. Brown suggests that setting clear boundaries around what we're comfortable sharing and what we're not can help us build healthier relationships. For example, if someone asks you a question that you're not comfortable answering, it's okay to say that you don't want to talk about it. So those are the best lessons we can learn from The Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. By embracing vulnerability, recognizing our shame, and building strong connections with others, we can lead happier and more fulfilling lives. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below with your thoughts on vulnerability. And as always, thanks for watching.